Good morning, everybody. My name is Jim Chilsen. I am Director of Communications for the Citizens Utility Board, or CUB. Welcome to our members only event. One of the major purposes of these events is just to say thank you to all the people who support CUB. We just so appreciate all the support you give, whatever you give. There is no such thing as a small donation to CUB, and we just really appreciate your ongoing loyal support. This team that I work with, and you're going to meet some of them today, they do amazing work on a yearly basis. I just always love writing the year in review stories because there's so much that this team does, and that's all because of your support. You work side by side with us, so just really appreciate that. Today's topic is Ask CUB Anything. We have some questions prepared already, but if you want to ask a question, please do. Just write it in the chat. And we've got a lot of experience on today's call. Let me just introduce people. First of all, as I said at the beginning, my name is Jim Chilsen. I'm Communications Director at CUB. I had a short gig with the Associated Press before I came to CUB, but that was way back in 2000, and I've been here ever since. I coordinate the consumer groups communications campaigns on utility issues. And what I love about CUB, and I've always loved about CUB, especially now when politics can get pretty divisive, is that we have a very nonpartisan big tent message about clean, affordable energy and consumer rights. And I think there's a lot that people can like about that. And I love going to these events across the state of Illinois and just talking with people and knowing that we can agree that we all want utility bills to be lower and to work for that. We've also got Outreach Director Ivonne Rychwa on today's call. Ivonne, you want to give a little wave? I love working with Ivonne. She's been at the Citizens Utility Board since 2012. She leads the team now that educates Illinois consumers about various utility issues. She establishes relationships with community organizations and serves both English and Spanish-speaking constituents. Her favorite part about working for CUB, she says, is being able to make a difference in the lives of consumers and helping them save money on their bills. And I have seen Ivonne do that for individual consumers. It's been amazing to see her work. So thank you, Ivonne, for all your work, and thank you for being here today. Then we have program manager Matt Harvey. Matt has been working with CUB since 2014. Wow. Time flies, Matt. Matt helps coordinate and plan workshops for CUB's outreach department. He's also a driving force in building and maintaining CUB's first ever volunteer team. When CUB first started and we'd send busloads of people down to Springfield, we did have a volunteer program, but it was dormant for a long time. And then Matt came along and with the help of a lot of people, it really built that volunteer program back up, from the ground up, and does just a great job. His favorite part of working at CUB is connecting with communities across the state through various outreach events. And I have to admit, when I first came to CUB, I did events. I was speaking engagements, and I did utility bill clinics, and that was one of the best parts, is being able to travel across the state and meet fascinating people. Matt's going to have a story about a consumer he met in Lansing recently, who it's kind of a sad story about what predicament this person was in, but we'll get to that later. Matt and Ivonne, can I jump into the questions, or do you have anything to add?
No.
I just want to add that Matt is he's celebrating 10 years at CUB this month. So Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you. It's crazy to think it's been 10 years. I was like looking at some stuff and I was like, whoa, wait, that was 2014, it's 2024. What? Years. It's crazy. CUB rocks. I mean, all of us have been around for some time, right? Like 10 plus years for everybody. So it's a cool organization to work for, that's for sure.
It seems longer, Matt. It seems like it's been longer working with you, but yeah. All right, let's dive into the questions. Like I said before, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat, and we will get to it. And if this smart group can't answer your question immediately, I promise we will go back to other people on CUB staff, and we'll make sure to get you an answer. And Ivonne, you are recording this, is that correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. So we will send this out later on to all the people who are able to make this and people who are not able to make this. All right. So the first question is something we get a lot of questions about is what are ComEd and Ameren, Illinois charging for electricity this summer? Oh, we're already getting questions. This is great. So let me dive into this one first, and then we can get to some others because the questions that you're giving us are important. ComEd and Ameren are charging, ComEd is charging 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour as of June 1st. And that is to September through its, oh no, it's through September. Excuse me. It was June 1st through September. So to October 1st, ComEd's summer supply rate is 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So very possible you will get somebody who will come to your door. Very possible you'll get something in the mail. You'll get called saying, hey, ComEd's rate has gone up. It has gone up slightly, not a lot. It's gone up slightly. Hey, we can save you money. Be very, very, very careful of any alternative suppliers who are giving you a call or trying to make this pitch. But 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour, that's ComEd's rate. It has come down significantly from a few years ago. Thank goodness. Ameren also has come down significantly. It is through the same time period, June 1st through September, it is about 8.136 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, just want to remind you, you're not going to see, it's the power supply rate plus a couple other charges that are added onto it that make this, it's called the price to compare. So it's the supply rate plus a couple of other supply charges, and that is the price to compare. And we call that the price to compare because it's all about the price that you would compare to an alternative supplier offer if you were given that. Matt and Ivonne, I know we're getting questions, but do you have anything to add about the price to compare, why it's important to know that price to compare?
Yeah, it is important. As you mentioned, there are suppliers out there that are still preying on people. And when you switch to an alternative supplier, it's better to know what to compare. And it's also important to ask what their offer it really is. Sometimes I always tell my story with when I go to Sam's Club, there's always these Aries there, an alternative supplier offering a $50 gift card. It is nice to get a $50 gift card, but in the end, you might end up paying more than $50 to that supplier in overpayments. Also, you might have noticed that your ComEd bill just changed this year. So there on the back of your bill, you'll always find the rate to compare as well. Or you can always check our website, and we always have an updated rate to compare on our electric section, I'm sorry. So yeah, you can or you can always call our hotline, and we can help you figure out if what the offer that you're looking into is a good offer. But in most cases, I think it's just safer to stay with the regulated utility.
Yeah, that's a good flag, Ivonne. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead, Matt, please.
No, I just want to piggyback off Ivonne. I mean, Ivonne and I spend a lot of time out in the field talking to folks, like looking at electric bills, looking at gas bills, and it's like, it feels like almost 9 out of 10 times when I see a supplier on the bill, it's a bad contract. And there's the exception of municipal aggregations. So I do want to flag, and I see a comment here in the chat about a community participation with the supplier. There are some communities that do contracts called municipal aggregations that can be a pretty good deal, if not about the same rate as what ComEd or Ameren's offering. And those are different. We kind of see those as different contracts compared to the ones that you see at like Sam's Club, the movie theater, door-to-door contracts. And those door-to-door contracts, the movie theater contracts, those are the ones that are notoriously bad. But if your municipality decides to do a contract with one of these companies, most of the time it's like usually pretty good. You always want to double check. I think, there have been a few communities that have unfortunately negotiated rates that have been a little bit higher, or they were lower in the past and they were just a long contract. So then it ended up being more expensive because ComEd's rate changed or Ameren's rate changed. But at the end of the day, if you do sign up with a supplier thinking about doing so like individually at the store, they're coming door to door, you want to be really careful, because most of the time when we see these kinds of contracts on bills, people end up losing quite a bit of money. like Jim mentioned anecdotally, I was in Lansing, Illinois at a utility bill clinic, and I was speaking with the gentleman who's like, I feel like my bill is really high, but I'm just like not sure what's happening. So we looked at it, and what we found is that he did have an alternative supplier on his bill, and he was paying upwards of 24 cents per kilowatt hour. And per Jim's comparison with the new rates, it's about 6.9 cents right now. So it's more than triple what ComEd's offering. And he just didn't know. He just was like, people are busy. There's a lot of stuff going on. You try to look at your bill. It's like very hard to kind of figure out what's happening on the bill. So a lot of people don't know. And then before you know it, you're paying like quadruple what you could be paying on the supply portion of your bill. So you just want to be really careful when you're navigating this market.
And some people have mentioned to me at events like, oh, it's only a couple of cents. It is a couple of cents, but it makes a huge difference when you look at the big picture. So just take into account that your usage changes, especially in the summer when we're talking about electric, you're using a lot more electricity in the summer because you're using your AC or your when we have a hot summer, it just increases your usage. So it's not only about comparing the rate, it's also about calculating how much. And I always like doing the math with the consumer. I'm like, okay, let's look at your usage, and we're going to multiply the usage by the rate that you should be paying with ComEd and compare it to what you actually paid. In the case if they have a supplier, and then you can see the difference in dollars, and that can be a huge difference. So yeah, it is I don't like seeing that.
Let me just add a few things to what Matt and Ivonne were saying, and then I do want to describe a little bit more for Linda what community aggregation is. But Ivonne, you said very clearly, this is a reform that we fought for along with other consumer groups in Illinois. Brian McDaniel was so happy when the HEAT Act was passed back in 2019. He had worked for years for these types of reforms. But Ivonne, you said it's very clearly on the ComEd bill. They have the price to compare, which you said it's on page 2. Is that right? They've had a billing change. As you know, they've got a new look to their bill, but it's on page 2.
Yes, it's on the back of the yes, on page 2 on the under the I believe it is things to know, or it's a section with like
News you can
updates
use.
about your bill, and you'll see there every month they'll provide the rate to compare.
And I'm just putting a couple things in the chat. I want to just first of all, I did put the donation page in the chat. I would get in big trouble with our fundraiser if I didn't do this. I guess I'm the fundraiser. But we have faced over the past 2 years a record number of rate hikes. That is incredibly expensive for a consumer group on a tight budget to fight those rate increases. And there have been multiple cases this year. Our legal team, Eric and Laura, are incredibly hard working. And so if you do have time, we appreciate all the support you give. If you do have the resources to give another donation, please do. If you can't right now, we understand that also, but just wanted to put that in the chat. Also, I did put our CUB news release on power prices in there. And just to let you know, we've actually tallied the numbers, and the number's about to go up again. My guess is, we don't know for sure, but the new report is coming out in July, late June, early July. From the Illinois Commerce Commission, but we tallied the numbers, and total since 2015, Illinois consumers on alternative suppliers have lost $1.6 billion. Now we don't endorse companies. We don't, we tell people you've got to arm yourselves with good information to make the right choices. But we do say that it's likely the utility supply price, and we're no fans of ComEd and Ameren. We fight them on a lot of issues, but it's likely that the utility supply price is your best bet. And one thing I want to make clear about that is they are not supposed to, under law, make profit off the supply price. They're supposed to pass those costs on to customers with no markup. The utilities are. The alternative suppliers do make a profit off that, and that's why we hear sometimes these terrible stories. But Linda had a question. Had a question about she said, my community participates with MC squared. I'm not sure what that even means. Can you clarify? Sure. If that is a community aggregation deal, the whole idea behind community aggregation, it's a type of electricity choice. People will come to my door pitching electricity, an electricity supply deal to me. And usually it's not a very good deal when I look at the details. That's different. That's not community aggregation. Community aggregation, and I live in a community that has an aggregation deal. That's where the leaders of a community, they have passed a referendum in the community, and they've said that if a majority of people have said you can go forward with community aggregation, then the leaders of that community can negotiate with an alternative supplier. And basically they say, hey, we can offer you all these customers. And the whole idea is that there's power in collective bargaining there. You have basically the leaders say, we can give you all these customers. What kind of deal can you give us? And as Matt said, it is different than those people who come to your door. That has tended to be a better deal than regular electricity choice, where suppliers come to your door or pitch you a deal over the phone or via mail. I say tended to be a better deal because savings are not guaranteed, but that has been tended to be a better deal, a safer choice. There have been some clunkers, no question. There are some clunkers right now, but it just means that if you see that other company on your bill and it's through a community aggregation plan, or it's through any plan, if you see another company on your bill, check out what price they're offering, and now you know what those supply prices are, so you can make a comparison. If you ever have a question, please don't hesitate to call CUB 1-800-669-5556 and ask a question like that. We're here to help. And also, Ivonne, you do have the remote billing analysis. Still, that is ubc@citizensutilityboard.org. That's ubc@citizensutilityboard.org. If you send us your bill, we can analyze that bill and give you some recommendations. And that's electric, gas, and telecom bills. So let me go back to, let me just see some of these other, wow, we're getting a lot of great questions.
I think there is a question actually about outreach. That's for outreach. Sherry is asking if we can address various alternative prices for ComEd. ComEd has a fixed rate, and there are programs that they offer a variable rate program. I'm not sure if that's the question, but we do address those questions at our utility bill clinics. And if anyone's interested in having a utility bill clinic in their community, they can actually contact me, or they can submit an event request through our website. My email address, I can share that in the chat, is rychwa@citizensutilityboard.org. So we can set up an event.
Great. So thank you, Ivonne. Did you guys have something else to add?
I just put the link that Ivonne mentioned through our website where you can submit the request in there as well, so folks can see it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matt. And you also put ubc@citizensutilityboard.org. Again, copy, attach give your contact information in the email, and also attach bills, PDFs of your bills. And these are bills that you've already paid. Make sure you've paid these bills. Send us those bills and we'll go over them. And Linda says, thank you for explaining. I've done best with ComEd. I use their hourly pricing program. It's really great. I get a monthly report and can see my savings. I feel much better with you fighting the rate increases. Thank you. And we're going to talk about hourly pricing later on, but I think maybe we should talk about some of these solar questions. This is a really great, our home, Linda says, our home was evaluated for solar panels last year, and they said our electric bills were less than $50, which is amazing, Linda. That's really good. You have a very energy efficient home. They're less than $50 a month on average. We have new energy efficient AC. They said we'd only benefit marginally. Thoughts?
Sure, I can take a crack at that. we typically recommend folks to get at least 3 quotes from companies, solar installers, because you never know, like prices vary, like what they can install varies, their expertise varies. So definitely want to encourage Linda to get another quote if you can. And I can put in the chat, there's a really good resource called Illinois Solar Education Association, or ISEA, which is illinoissolar.org, and you can search different solar installers by zip code, so you can look for local folks. But per what this installer told you, I've heard this before. Every household is very different. It's hard to kind of give like a snapshot of like what makes sense for every household when it comes to solar, because our energy burden is different. The level of sun exposure on a rooftop is different. But just because you have low energy burden or low energy usage doesn't mean that solar wouldn't make sense on your rooftop. You would just theoretically need less panels, which would make it more affordable for you. You know, I don't quite know about like the return on investment and what that would look like with a lower energy burden. But I would definitely encourage Linda to look at different solar installers and see what they say, because they might be willing to do it and kind of show you a different portrait of what it would cost.
And thanks. Adding to that, that's great, man. Thank you. This is really great. Thank you. Could somebody put, I got another link I'm about to put in, but could somebody put the solarswitch.com link in the chat?
Yeah.
You're able to do that. Thank you so much. So just to explain to you that Solar Switch is something that we're working on, a program we're working on in the Chicago area. I'm sorry for anybody who's outside the Chicago region. We're working on doing more of this, but it's in the Chicago region. It's a great program. We're about to put a news release out about this. It's basically a safe way to educate yourself about solar and to potentially take part in solar if you're interested to take that step. If you're not, if you end up not being interested, it's still a really valuable educational program, but it's a group buy program, which means it can offer discounts on solar panels if you agree to go forward with that. So the Solar Switch program, and let me just see, I'm way behind on my, we'll put that in the chat, but that's a really great program. And we work in that program because we're consumer advocates. We really like to educate people about that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Matt. So Solar Switch is in the chat there, and you can check that out. And it's solarswitch.com. You can check. So if you want to get, it's a really, like I said, when I say safe way, I think solar is a great deal. But if you just want to dip your toe in the water and just see what it's about, this is a good way, a good first step forward is to check out the Solar Switch program. And if you decide to go forward, can offer you discounted solar panels. Okay, we're getting a couple questions about net metering. I think that was what I was going to put in the chat. I'm going to put CUB blog about net metering, if I can type. Okay, we put out a blog recently in May called What's Happening to Solar Power in Illinois in 2025. And so there we have 2 questions. One from Mary: do you have any information about the changing rules regarding net metering coming in January 2025? And then Sherry asked, net metering still going away effective 1/1/25. So I want to be very clear about this. It's not quite accurate to say it's going away, and I just want to be very clear with people is that what's happening as of and for people who already have solar panels on their homes, that it's going to stay the way it is. That you get a net metering benefit. That's where if your solar installation, and correct me if I'm wrong here, jump in here, but that's when if your solar installation creates more power than you need, you can actually sell the power back to ComEd's grid. And that is a benefit called net metering. It's a great benefit. It is on both the supply and the delivery parts of bills. As of January 1st, 2025, if you already have solar panels on your home, if you got solar panels 2 years ago, come January 1st, 2025, nothing is happening, nothing will change. If you in February of 2025 or March or April, sometime in 2025, you get solar panels on your home. Going forward, for people who install panels after this year, after 2024, the net metering benefit will still be there. It's just only going to be on the supply portion of your bill. It's not going to be on the delivery portion of your bill. I've got that right? Matt and Ivonne, that's cool.
Yep.
All right. So I worked hard to put out this blog to try to explain this to people, but so it's still going to be on bills. So solar is still going to be a good deal after 2025. It's just going to be less of a good deal than it was before 2025, but it's still a very good deal. And like I said, anybody who's got solar panels now on their home, nothing's going away. That is going to be, you're going to get that benefit on both supply and delivery. But after 2025, new customers, new solar customers will only get it on the supply section of the bill, not the delivery section also. So that's what's happened. Does net metering benefit all of us if ComEd can increase their grid storage from the increased solar adoption? That's an excellent question. I would say, yeah, that is kind of the idea, is that, this is the whole idea about clean, affordable energy, how clean energy not only can help people's, the solar customers can not only benefit solar customers' electric bills, but everyone's electric bill by creating more and clean power and making the grid more reliable. So what do you mean by supply and delivery? Is delivery what you send to ComEd? So if you look at your bill, there is a supply and a delivery portion of your bill. Delivery is what you pay ComEd to deliver that electricity to your home. Supply is what you pay for the actual electricity. A little back, I reminded people that ComEd does not profit off the supply portion of the bill. Whatever they pay for the electricity, they're supposed to pass on to customers with no markup. However, when we're fighting all those rate hikes, that's on the delivery portion of your bill, because they are allowed to profit off the delivery portion of your bill. So that's what they charge us to deliver that electricity to our homes, plus a profit. And that's where we get in these huge battles with ComEd and Ameren, because we always argue that they're trying to, rake customers over the coals, and they're trying to profit too much. So the supply portion takes up a half to 2/3 of a bill. Delivery takes up about 1/3 to a half of electricity bills. Would you add anything to that, Ivonne and Matt?
No, I think that kind of like checks out as far as that goes, and ties into, I think it's a good example of why you should stay away from alternative suppliers too, is because you're not paying more money on the supply. When you're with ComEd, you're essentially paying market rates, whereas these alternative suppliers are acting as the middleman for your supply. So inevitably somebody's got to pay more for those suppliers to make money.
And that's a common narrative that the suppliers, alternative suppliers use. Oh, ComEd is increasing the rates. If there's a rate increase on the delivery side of your bill, going with an alternative supplier is not going to protect you from those rate hikes. So unfortunately, it's only going to make it worse if you're paying more with the alternative supplier.
Excellent point. Alternative suppliers say that all the time. Like Ivonne said, they'll say, oh, hey, they're raising rates. You got to get on this alternative supplier deal. Everybody, even if you're on an alternative supplier deal, you will still pay those delivery rates to ComEd. And that's also what's confusing, is even if you're with an alternative supplier, you'll still get a ComEd bill, because those charges are on, the supplier charges are on your ComEd bill. And Richard Ellerbrock, who is a great CUB member, we go back a long way. I wrote a feature story about Richard years ago. He corrects me, and I appreciate that, sir. Net metering, you don't really sell back the power, but you get a credit for kilowatt hours you return to Ameren. He's an Ameren customer, but any balance is zeroed out at the end of your fiscal year, ending in April or November, whichever you selected for those with solar now. So thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. And Mary says, so supply is what ComEd pays for electricity, and delivery is what they charge us. It's the cost of delivering. They have to maintain their wires. That part we agree with. You have to maintain your wires. The problem that we get with is they always are allowed to add a profit on top of that. And what happens is their return on equity, or their profit rate for shareholders, is usually just unworkable. And we're always trying to cut tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars off those rate hikes because of a high ROE. Would you add anything with what Mary said?
I think like the way, oh, go ahead, Yvonne.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I guess like the way that I always explain it out in the field, or the way that like my brain conceptualizes these different pieces. So we have those three pieces on our bill. You have supply, you have delivery, you have taxes and fees. And taxes and fees is kind of like the what are you going to do piece? Like we pay taxes and fees for everything. Whereas the delivery, you're paying for the infrastructure, the way that the electricity is getting from point A to point B. And then the supply is where you're actually paying for like the wholesale electricity. So it's like kind of slotted or boxed up in different pieces, but really it's just you're paying for the electricity itself, you're paying for the delivery or the infrastructure, and then you're paying for various taxes and fees, like all things.
Thank you, Matt. Anything
And the
to add?
good news is that the supply portion of the bill, which is the actual amount of energy that we're using, is we have a little bit of control over that section because we can practice energy efficiency and lower that usage, and that allows us to lower our bill as well.
Thank you, Yvonne. So Sherry, you've had some great questions here. Julian, another great CUB member. We go back a long way. You've had some great questions. I want to touch on John's question here because I think it covers some of the things we've talked about. Hello, solar on the roof. Many horror stories. You or BGA warned us that there is no free lunch. That was also years ago. AARP is fighting ripoffs. Do you have a new stance with solar farms, and solar co-ops? I heard solar farm memberships can be worse than a timeshare. Maybe want to.
I can take a crack at that.
Yeah.
I agree. There's like really no such thing as free lunch, but there is such thing as good programs and good policy, which is where a lot of the solar benefits come from. So right now in Illinois, solar is just like such a stellar deal. And you should ask folks who have solar panels. Oftentimes they're like evangelizing and like super eager to like share how their solar system is doing. Because right now in Illinois, you can pay for up to, and in some cases more than 60%, or it covers 60% of the total cost of your solar installation. That's through state and federal incentives. There's about 30% coming from the federal government, and then the state government also has a solar renewable energy credit that covers about 30% of the total cost of the installation. So you can make the solar system much more affordable, have a pretty low return on investment, and then you're being net metered like we've been talking about. So you're also reducing your energy burden, or kind of zeroing out your utility bill to close to like about $15 per month, because you still have to pay for tapping into the grid. Because most solar systems here are grid tied, meaning that when your solar panels aren't generating energy, you need to still power your appliances and you need to pull from the grid to do that. Therefore, you have to pay basically a $15 fee to do that. And I know there's some questions about like what happens if something goes wrong on the roof, or the installers like do something that they're not supposed to do and there's some damage. Most of these companies, I think if not all of the companies, offer a very lengthy workmanship warranty that covers like a good chunk of time, and that's for the work that they're doing on the roof. And then there's also really lengthy warranties for the technology that's being installed, so like the inverters and the solar panels themselves. So we find rooftop solar to actually be quite a good deal, and a really good investment for homeowners. And it's like not necessarily free lunch. It's just that there are good programs or policies that CUB and other organizations worked really hard to pass to make sure that we're sweetening the deal for consumers to tap into solar energy, which, like, to wax philosophical for like a quick second, I think is super neat, because I mean, it's like built into the name. They call solar or renewable energy distributed generation, meaning that it's kind of like people can participate in various ways to add to the overall renewable energy mix on our grid. Whereas when I think of like a coal power plant, nuclear power plant, natural gas power plant, it's like some people made a big investment, it gets put there, and the people that are reaping the benefits are typically the people that made that investment. Whereas with solar or wind or other renewable energy situations, you as a consumer can reap the benefit and get the same kinds of incentives that these mega fossil fuel companies are getting as well. So you're like participating more in this energy economy and have the ability to do so more than we've really ever been able to do so. And I think that's pretty neat.
Matt, very impressive on your very first members only event. You're hitting a grand slam, man. Thanks. Let me just add something to that, and I hope I don't complicate this further, but there, like Matt said, there are some companies going door to door very, very aggressive. And this is one of the reasons why we got involved in the Solar Switch program, because we really think that this is a safe way, to get involved in solar power, to learn more about it. And safe, I think, overstates it. But there have been some companies, not great actors, that have gone door to door and have made a pitch to people. Sometimes local TV will pick that up. And I always cringe when I see that, because solar is a great deal, but there are some companies going door to door. And that's why I think Matt and Ivonne said earlier, always make sure to get at least three, search out 3 companies to get what they have to say about the deal they're offering you. Also, I think, and you mentioned ICEA, right? The Illinois Solar Energy Association. Maybe
I forgot to put the link in the chat. I'll put that in there right now.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to ask that. Thank you. So that's a great organization. So sometimes companies are peddling solar leases door to door. That's sometimes where you hear free solar panels, free of charge. Always be careful of, can't miss, language like that. But right now, with all of the incentives available, it's possible that a solar lease is the best option for you. But right now, with all the incentives that people can get, as Matt said, I think he said up to 60% of installation costs can be covered, that it's likely that buying the panels outright is the best deal for you. So just beware when you get a pitch from somebody going door to door. Don't feel pressure to sign up at the doorstep, obviously, or your heart's in the right place. We're looking for clean, affordable energy for the future. There's a lot of good reasons to get involved in solar, but just we're always there to help you be a smart shopper and to help you consider those options. So don't think you have to sign up for anything on the spot, and just we're always there to give you guidance on how to be a good shopper in the solar market. So let's see. I'm sure we got a bunch of other. Thank you for putting Illinois Solar for All in there. Let's talk with Julian. Let's cover Julian's question. Let's see here. Julian, how can CUB help the community solar problem that ComEd has created by changing account numbers? Credits cannot get to the customers. This is a very good point that Julian brings up. And this is something that we've been working to try to correct, is that there's this great program. We've just been talking about rooftop solar. There's a great program called community solar. And what I love about community solar is people have told me before that my home is too shady. So meaning it's in the shade too much. And there are a lot of apartment dwellers who just up until now could not take part in the clean energy transition. They couldn't take part in solar power because they couldn't put panels on their home for a number of reasons. They're at a condo, they're in an apartment, their homes just has too much shade. Community solar offers you a way to benefit from solar power without having to put panels on your home. And it's been a great program. It's basically, and Ivonne and Matt, you can jump in here, but it's basically a program that allows you to subscribe to an off-site solar farm somewhere in ComEd's territory, or if you live in Ameren, like Richard, somewhere in Ameren's territory, and you can actually subscribe to a portion of that farm, and based on the solar output of that farm, you can get a credit on your utility bill for the solar output. Now, you also have to pay the community solar provider, but that's been typically at a 10 to 15% discount. So it's a money-saving program. Unfortunately, in ComEd territory, ComEd, you may have heard, we sent out an email about this, has been going through a billing transition, and it's been really full of errors and just disappointing errors for a company that's making so much money. There's been a lot of problems. So I guess the best we can say, Julian, is that we are working to get ComEd, to motivate ComEd to fix those problems. I know ComEd wants to fix those problems because it's been a PR headache for them. But because of the billing problems, people who are community solar participants have not been seeing those credits on their bills, which obviously is a big problem. This has lasted for a few months now, and we're hoping to see a solution to this problem. ComEd has sent out an email recently that said they foresee this problem being corrected by the end of June, that nobody will get a disconnection or or because of the billing issues, nobody will get disconnected. Nobody will, you know, have to pay a late payment fee, and those credits, they'll be made whole with those credits. So we sure hope that that is the case, and we're going to continue to push ComEd to fix that issue. So hold tight. You've had to be amazingly patient, because there's just no excuse for this company with these billing issues, but that's the word right now. So I don't know if Matt or Ivonne, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think that's good. Community solar is just like, I think, another example of just like a stellar policy that just makes this stuff more available. Because I think traditionally, when I've thought about solar, like when I first started CUB, it was like reserved for affluent environmentalists, you know what I mean? And like folks couldn't really access it unless you had the willpower and the finances to do it. But now, because of the incentives we have for rooftop solar, the program of community solar, our income qualified solar program, Illinois Solar for All here in the state, like there's really easy ways to get plugged in. And I think that's cool. If you want to tap into savings and clean energy, you can certainly do it right now. And community solar is just a really good example of that.
Great. I want to thanks, Matt. And Ivonne, did you have anything to add, or are we good to go on to the next thing?
No, I'm good to go.
I know we've got about 20 minutes left, so let's move as quickly as possible. So Sherry, finally, I know we talked about net metering. You've had a lot of good questions here. I want to go back to the one you asked in your utility bill clinics. And utility bill clinics are these popular events we hold across the state of Illinois, where people can bring in their bills, and they can actually have a CUB expert look over them line by line, explain the charges, and just give them recommendations on if there's places they can save money, or if they're on a bad alternative supplier deal, you know, talk to them about that. And like Matt said, he found somebody paying 24 cents kilowatt hour, right? Sherry asks, do you also address ComEd's various alternative pricing plans? This is great. If a township wants to have a clinic for its low-income clients, should they request one from you or ComEd? It's another question. If a client is interested in community solar, would you help them sort through various CS suppliers beside ComEd? So let me just answer that last one. Is we're in a holding point right now with community solar, because of the billing problems, as Julian said, big problems with that program. But we do have something called solarinthecommunity.com that does list all the deals out there, or tries to list all the deals out there and give people guidance. We don't recommend companies. We just don't do that. We can't do that. But we do give people all the information they need to try to make a good decision. So we do have that, solarinthecommunity.com. So let's go back to your first question. Various alternative pricing plans. Now, I think it was Linda talked about hourly pricing. Maybe we do talk about that in utility bill clinics. Matt or Ivonne, do you want to talk about hourly pricing?
Well, hourly pricing is a program that it's convenient for not everybody's account is suitable for hourly pricing, but if you are an all-electric consumer or your usage is over, I believe the average they consider is for about 400 kilowatt hours in average per month, then you are probably going to be saving on a program like hourly pricing. Also, if you have an electric car, this is a great way to charge your car, because during this program, instead of paying the fixed rate that we all pay throughout the day, hourly pricing, those who are on hourly pricing are paying a different rate every hour. So the rate changes throughout the day, every hour, but usually during this, under this program, the prices are much lower early in the morning and late at night. So if you shift your high usage to those of peak times, you'll be saving money. And if you have an electric car, you're most likely to charge it overnight when the prices are much lower. So many people are benefiting from this program. I think last year, 99% of the subscribers, hourly pricing subscribers, saved money. And it's just a great way to also become conscious about our usage at home.
Thank you. She also had a question about if a township wants to have a clinic for its low-income clients, should they request one from you or ComEd? I have more to say about hourly pricing, but I wanted to get to that.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the utility bill clinics are offered by CUB, and you can request that through our website. Matt share the form to submit an event request, or you can contact me and we can help you set up a clinic.
Great, thank you. And Sherry also asked, does community aggregation prevent a community from installing rooftop solar on municipal buildings? No, right. That
No.
should be fine, Sherry. If by chance you are getting a different message, maybe we're not understanding the question, please, you can always reach out to Ivonne or Matt or I at CUB. If you want to call us, 1-800-669-5556. We'll do our best to answer as a follow-up, but that should not be prevent a municipality from installing solar panels on their muni buildings. Just to talk about hourly pricing, I put something in the chat, and I just want to be a good consumer advocate that I said hourly pricing sets savings record. Ivonne said, and it's true, a lot of studies we've done have showed the majority of consumers could save on hourly pricing, but I want to be clear, it's not for everyone. We have a fact sheet that's linked in that blog that explains who would be an ideal hourly pricing customer. So it's not for everyone, but basically it charges an hourly rate, which can be kind of scary to some people that, oh, I'm getting charged a price that can change on an hourly basis. But as Ivonne and Matt have pointed out, the price of electricity can actually fluctuate greatly over the course of a day. It can get very high during high demand times. Think, the early afternoons when, a hot day like this, when factories are humming and demand for electricity gets very high, everybody's cranking up their air conditioners. It can also get very low, early in the morning, late at night. And if you're the kind of household that can switch your electricity usage, the bulk of your electricity usage, you're always going to be using some electricity, but if you can switch the bulk of your electricity usage to low demand times, you can save money. And last year, all the stars aligned to lead to record savings for consumers. The savings can fluctuate, but every story I've heard, and I don't know, Ivonne or Matt, I should have asked this. Are you either of you on hourly pricing?
No, I'm not, but I know Sarah is.
Sarah Moskowitz is. A bunch of people, Dave Collada before her, were on that. They were always saving money over time. There might be a year where electricity price, the market's going haywire, and your savings might be much lower, or maybe you'll lose a little bit of money. But over time, both in Sarah's case and in Dave's case, they've saved money over time. So it's a solid program if you're the right customer. So we invite you to.
And I just want to add that the reason I am not on hourly pricing is because when I contacted the program administrator, they told me you are probably not going to be saving money because your usage is very low already. So I wasn't a good candidate for the program because usually my energy usage at home is less than 300 kilowatt hours in average. So we're being very efficient.
And congratulations to you being efficient. And that is a great story about why this program is so good. You actually call up and they have a potential customer and they're very honest with you and say, you know what, this program's probably not your best bet. That's the big difference between a program like that and some fly-by-night alternative supplier comes to your door and says, hey, we're going to save you tons of money. And it turns out to be a disaster for your bill. So hourly pricing is one of those good choices. So, and also, not ready for hourly pricing. There's peak time savings, which is a program. There's absolutely no risk involved. I'm on peak time savings. It's where you'll get an email or a text and it'll say, hey, it's a hot day. There's peak time savings hours between 1 and 4 today. That's just an example. And it'll say, conserve electricity during these times. And if you're able to beat It's a little more, it's more complicated than this, but the basic idea is if you're able to use fewer kilowatt hours during that time period than you did the year before, then you can get a credit. And I don't know, I think, Ivonne, you might have the record for the biggest credit that you've received.
I think over the years, there's only so much you can save over the years since they're comparing you to the previous year. But I believe the first time I signed up for peak time savings, I saved an average of $15 on in one bill, because we had like 2 or 3 like consecutive like very close dates. And I also would like to add that peak time savings is a great way to start getting used to demand response programs or getting acquainted with how they work. And then once you feel ready, or if your savings are just being less and less over the years, once you feel ready, you can move on to hourly pricing if it is the right program for you.
That's a great point. Thank you. And that Linda says, with hourly pricing, I get a text that tells me the high times so I can do my laundry or adjust my thermostat to use less energy during peaks. I saved $126 last year. That's a great example. Thank you, Linda. I also want to say, during this hot weather, you may have gotten our email this morning. My abject fear is that somebody's going to think that during this hot weather, to save money, they need to jack up their thermostat and live in very uncomfortable conditions. I will say that my experience hearing from people who are hourly pricing customers is that they don't go through that at all. They don't go through any type of suffering during that. It's just a matter of changing your usage. During these high temperature times, we would never advocate for anybody putting their thermostat at an unsafe level or anything like that. And Linda points out, even adjusting AC a degree or two makes a difference. And that's the kind of thing we're talking about, is that you use a ceiling fan along with just adjusting it a degree or two, still keeping it at a safe level to make sure you're staying safe and cool. That can make a big difference. So Julian asked the tough question: are you guys on community solar? Julian, you're really grilling us here. Is anybody on community solar here?
I
am not.
Well, we'll work on getting, we're going to have a solar only episode. And I think the next one, we're due for a solar only episode, and we will get a community solar customer on. I know Eric, our litigation director, our general counsel, excuse me, I should say, our general counsel is on community solar and has, spoken highly of it, but we will get somebody on there. And if anybody has a good community solar story to tell, I'm actually looking, and I know, as Julian pointed out, they're having awful problems, all due to ComEd's billing issues. If somebody up until before this year, had a great experience with community solar, please reach out to me, Jim Chilsen at Citizens, or J Chilsen at citizensutilityboard.org. I'll put that in the chat so that you can reach out to me. I do want to hear from you desperately, actually. So if you have we know people are having great experiences because we talk to people all the time. But if somebody would like to share that experience they've had with community solar, actually in the context of the problems they're having with ComEd now, please share that with me. And before the end of the talk, I'll put my email in the chat. So thank you.
Hey, Jim, I'm on community solar.
Oh, you are? I'm
yeah. I just signed up not too long ago. It's been great. I mean, we have the issue with it not coming to my ComEd bill right now, but past that, I just had a few months with community solar prior to this issue, and it's been great. I'm saving 40% on my supply, because at the time when I signed up with the company, they increased their supply savings to you can get up to 60%, regardless of income qualifications. And somehow I landed on a 40% contract. So I'm saving a lot of money for the next 15 years or something like that. So definitely want to encourage folks to check out our community solar vendor list and see what folks are offering, because you can get some pretty stellar savings.
Matt, I stand corrected. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Linda has a great tip, but I want to get to the AT&T customer, which, thank you, Ann. We were ready. I just want to say we were going to deal with your question because Ivonne shared it with me. But Ann says, yesterday I submitted a question about the increasing cost of landlines with AT&T. I'm going to get grumpy on this one because this is not a happy topic to talk about. My recent bill, Ann says, was $69 with having made a single call last month. This represents a 15% increase just this year. She says she's reached out to politicians, to the senators in Illinois, and they were not responsive. I don't want to give up my landline. I'm not in a rural area, just want the security of the landline. Thank you. So I will say I'm very grumpy about this issue. This makes me mad as hell because AT&T, if there is not, this is a perfect example of a utility acting in a disgusting way, if I can say so. The landline customers, we were complaining about this before the call started. There are a significant number of people like Ann who could benefit from plain old telephone service, an affordable landline. It's the most reliable. Even now, it's the most reliable. Now, I have my iPhone. I love my iPhone. It's very helpful, but there are a significant number of people who could benefit from landline phone service. 911, you call, you're unresponsive. Let's say you dial 911, you're in a point where you can't talk. They'll be able to trace that call directly to you. Even cell phone service, it's getting better and better, but it's still not 100% accurate like landlines. The problem is, and this gets into the problems we've had with corruption, utility corruption in Illinois, because AT&T's former president is in trial and facing indictment on this case where they used improper lobbying procedures to get a bill passed that basically allowed, in 2017, we fought this battle for a good 10 years, and we kept turning back AT&T, and this bill was passed that basically said, once you get approval from the FCC, AT&T, you can declare landline service deregulated, and you don't have to be the carrier of last resort. That means you don't have to offer landline service anymore to people. Now, I want to say that hasn't happened yet, but the problem is, in that same 2017 bill, we had, and we tried to get it back this year. We fought for this bill to bring back the consumer's choice calling plans. We were unsuccessful, but we keep fighting this battle year in and year out. In that same 2017 bill, they got rid of the consumer's choice plans, which had prices frozen by the General Assembly. Those were the best deals for sure in the state of Illinois, and probably in the country, some of the best phone deals in the nation. And they got rid of those, and guess what AT&T did? They just keep jacking up that price. And at the same time, they say, look at all the people leaving landline service. People don't want landline service. Well, part of the reason is they're jacking up the price. So I do have some, I don't know if I do want to read some things. I reached out to Sandra, our head of consumer advocacy. She has some tips, but I don't know if you want to add to that matter, Ivonne.
No, I think that covers it. It's a real shame, unfortunately.
It is a shame. And they had that big cell phone outage a ways back, and experts were saying, if you have a landline, use that. They had that horrible cell phone outage. I think it was in February, and it's so gross how AT&T has jacked up these prices. So Sandra says to me, after making sure to reiterate that the company is doing and will continue to do this, meaning raise the price, because they are pushing folks off of landline, and that the consumer choice plans are no longer frozen, and any plan you switch to likely will increase as well. So it's not a happy story. She said, after making sure we reiterate that, she said, call the company to see if there are any lower price plans. There may still be some good customer service reps there left who care and can help people. Also, we mentioned UBC at citizensutilityboard.org. We'll always be happy to go over your bill and try to make some money saving, give you some money saving tips based on your phone bill and your phone usage. You can also, in addition to sending it to UBC at citizensutilityboard.org, you can fax or mail your bill to us. If they have a cell phone, Sandra says, try to get the lowest landline plan possible and use the cell phone for calls. Okay, I know, again, these are not going to be happy answers, but she says, if consumers have a consumer's choice plan, so they have these legacy consumer's choice plans, leave it alone, because once they make any adjustments, or once a consumer makes any adjustments or drops that plan, they will not get it back, because AT&T is just trying to get people off of landlines. So this is not a very good story. My guess is Brian McDaniel, who is very angry about this and very passionate about this. He fought for this bill, this legislative session. We brought it up in past legislative sessions. We'll bring it up again because it's just this will continue to be a serious issue because there are still a significant number of people who could benefit from landline service, like Ann and like a bunch of other people. So I'm sorry, Ann, that's not the greatest answer, but if you want to reach out to me, you can call CUB at 1-800-669-5556 and ask for Jim, or you can email me at jchilsen@citizensutilityboard.org. Finally, a summer tip, Linda gives us a summer tip, is to make sure your dehumidifier is working and set properly and that the filter is clean. Less humidity can make for higher indoor temps, can make higher, indoor temps feel cooler. So that's good. Make sure your dehumidifier is in good working condition. We have to go. If I did not answer anybody's question, please reach out to me, jchilsen@citizensutilityboard.org. We will send this to people. We will send a link to this, to the recording of this out to people. Very much appreciate all of the support you give us. Again, if you can give us a donation, we always welcome that, and whatever donation you can afford, that would be wonderful. But we just always appreciate your interest in these issues. So just keep opening up those emails and asking us questions. Ivonne says, thanks for joining. I will second that. Thank you, everybody. I wish you a great day, and thank you for all the support. See you
Thanks,
later.
everyone.
Thank you.